Aidan and you're listening to the Voice of Insurance podcast, produced in association with AdvantageGo, enabling enterprise-scale underwriting through a single pane of glass. Today's episode is the latest in a series of podcasts that are all about highlighting the technology companies that are part of AdvantageGo's ecosystem via a double-header podcast with them and AdvantageGo's global business leader, Ian Summers. And this one is really special because it involves the boss of one of the ecosystem's most essential core partners. Aidan O'Neill is the CEO of DOCOsoft, which is the firm on whose systems around half of the London market's claims are handled. Aidan has been involved with the London market for around 25 years, and since the advent of the electronic claims file in 2008, DOCOsoft has built a leading market position around claims software. Aidan and Ian are both people who anyone who's been part of the London market community is likely to know or have met at least once. And because of that, in many ways, this podcast is a personal embodiment of the ecosystem that Ian and AdvantageGo are trying to build. This itself is a reflection of the wider ecosystem of collaborating and competing entities that make up the broader London market that it serves. Ian and Aidan have been collaborating for many years and clearly get on extremely well. So in this fun episode, we get an overview of DOCOsoft and all the latest news on the ecosystem, but we also get the benefit of all of Ian and Aidan's collective wisdom, looking beyond the upcoming reforms of Blueprint 2 and into a world of straight-through processing and a market where the true benefits of new technologies such as AI are going to be reaped. Greater productivity, better client service and outcomes, and a much stronger flow of business into London are some of the prizes that Ian and Aidan can see just over the horizon. It's inspiring stuff, and the next half an hour is going to rattle by. Enjoy the podcast. Ian and Aidan, welcome to the Voice of Insurance.
Thanks, Mark. Good to be here. Hello, Ian.
Good to see you again, Ian.
Yeah, and good again. Thanks very much for coming along, Aidan. Looking forward to this one.
Good. Well, Ian, you've been on the show a few times now, so I'm going to have to focus on your guests who our listeners might not know. So, Aidan, why don't you give me a bit of brief introduction to yourself? Tell us a bit about your career to date and how you've got to where you are today.
Well, first of all, I didn't know I was in the presence of a rock star here, but anyway.
As I say, he's a podcasting veteran now.
I've done a couple.
Very good, yeah. What do you want to know, Mark? Yeah, fire ahead.
How long have you been doing what you're doing? You've obviously been serving the insurance industry for quite a while now. And were you always doing that? And what did you do at university? How did you sort of start the world of work?
Well, I guess no one is in insurance who meant to be insurance from day one. I think we all happen to fall into insurance, I think is what people say. But I studied computer software development in the 80s. So I was always interested in engineering and mathematics. And then I was fortunate enough to get a job in Tokyo and working for RICO in their software research center and working on advanced technologies called solid modeling technologies. And I ended up staying there nearly 10 years. And on the back of that, came back to Ireland and the UK, and we were doing document management software systems, and we had systems in the Swanwick Air Traffic Control Centre with Lockheed Martin. We had document management systems in the Dartford Tunnel with Dartag, and we had a couple of Lloyd syndicates using our document management system. But I always liked the London insurance market, to be honest, and people used to say, Aidan, we want to see more of you. So that's kind of where it started in this market.
It's nice about the insurance industry. Once they get to know you and they like you, they kind of keep inviting you back, don't they?
They do, yeah, for some reason, yeah.
So it was always document management?
Yeah, at the start, yeah. But we were up against Microsoft at that time were introducing SharePoint into the market. And and also the Japanese company where I was working was kind of undercapitalized because the Japanese market was going through, that was the late 90s actually, in terms of what was happening over there on the ground. So I had a chance 2008 to look at a claims workflow around ECF version 1.
And that's the electronics claims file?
That's the electronics claims file, yeah. And because there was a couple of carriers using our document management system, the technology was quite robust. I used to describe it like a Subaru car. It just didn't break down. So ultimately, one carrier asked us, it was a MAP syndicate, MAP asked us, would we look at putting a workflow around? ECF1 used to have a daily trigger file. It used to come the next day from the previous day's claims movements. But after a while, it was just built up. And so we reran a workflow system around that. We put it in I think it was December 2008. Into MAP. They loved it, said leave it alone, and it was actually the production system we put in was a few months later, and we took it from there basically. Yeah.
And what's DOCOsoft evolved into? That was your first product, was the electronic claims file?
Workflow was, yeah. And at that stage, there was no such thing as a claims management system in the market. Basically, the policy system would store the syndicate, the SCM message. So the ECF was basically a first notification of loss, early warning, and the financials weren't that accurate. So anyone who wanted to look at claims financials would look at the policy system. So what we did then was we actually took the ECF message, we linked it back to the SCM message, and ultimately evolved into the first enterprise claims management systems that exist today in the London insurance market.
The funny thing about claims is that I remember as a broker in the early 90s, it was my first interaction with something that we would later call the internet, and something that had a modem. It was our claims broker was the first one to be connected because he had Limnet. But it was really expensive, and I remember he left it on over one weekend and got in big trouble because it cost about 100 quid. But it's funny that, yes, that ECF was interesting because around the time, that was when Richard Ward was the CEO of Lloyd's, and he was on a crusade. I do remember being a journalist at the time, writing those stories of the crusade against the infamous white vans that used to go down to Chatham for processing to the LPSO, mostly full of claims notification and claims files and things.
The brokers would be going around with the big claims files, walking around. Should imagine during COVID what would have happened if we hadn't had introduced DCF back in 2008, really.
Yeah, amazing. So how's the business evolved? And if you ask someone, what's DOCOsoft, what do? They'd say, well, they're my claim system.
Yeah, well, ultimately, that original system has transformed into, now they're basically core enterprise claims management systems. And ultimately, it looks like a claims dashboard. It links into your policy system. It links into your document management system, sanctions checking. But from a user perspective, it's just a dashboard where the messages come in and the guys have to make decisions based on claims transactions. And we've ultimately ended up right now, I'd say, 20-something carriers using the DOCOsoft core claims system. So half the claims messages that go into the London insurance market would go through a DOCOsoft client.
Wow. Is it just called DOCOsoft? Does it have a name? Sometimes have this sort of...
Yeah, the current system is DOCOsoft CMS, but we've been building out a new cloud-based system since 2020, and that's to be in line with Blueprint 2 Phase 2. So that's cloud-only, all microservices, APIs. So that's called DOCOsoft View. It's a cloud SaaS one.
It's a very good introduction. But how long was it before you've had your first interaction with MAP? So it's almost about 20 years ago.
We put our first system into Aegis. It was December 1999, and MAP came out of Aston. Now used to be Omni Whittington.
Yes.
Because Aegis came out of Omni Whittington as well. So they were incubated in the Omni Whittington Aston environment. So I think we put in MAP, it was 2001 from memory. So they're still using the original document management system actually we put in since then, and Aegis as well, actually, yeah.
That's fantastic. So, yes, it's been coming for 25 years.
Wow, yeah, when you look at it like that, yeah.
It's Silver Jubilee.
So to say that in the London insurance market, you have to have 2 stripes on your jacket, like 2 decades, really, before anyone takes you serious in the market.
I think you're right about the insurance industry. It's naturally conservative, and rightly so, because it needs to be there to do difficult things and needs to be very solid. But then once you're in, aren't you, I think?
Yeah,
it takes a while.
Yeah, it's hard to get in, but then it's harder to get out. So it's, it's got a natural kind of vetting kind of industry where it's not for everybody, but if it works, it works, I guess, yeah.
So Ian, how's it going? Give us the latest report on the ecosystem. Obviously, it'd be crazy to have an ecosystem and then not have the company that provides half of the claims.
And you can hear how complicated it is to have specialists in each area. So DOCOsoft being that specialist claims management system. So they came on before. We mentioned that one in our last call. I think that was in May.
Yep.
Since then, we've had 5 new partners come on board. Insurance, which is an AI-led data processing system. Ping, which, again, AI-led. So AI is the common theme in these things. Does data ingestion, cleansing of that data, and then geocoding it as well. Fortified Data, they're part of our new cyber model. So they've come on board, along with Relativity 6, another cyber data area. And then the last one that came on most recently, I think, is Explio, and they are a digital transformation testing type of team.
It's good. I'm pretty sure we're going to book something in to have a chat with Explio. And
hopefully all of those.
Well, all to come for the listeners. Aidan, you've got half of the claims volume in the London market. So why do you want to join in with Ian and AdvantageGo's ecosystem?
Yeah, good question. What we see Mark, is that what the carriers want today is they want systems to be deployed quick, but they want certainty as well. DOCOsoft's competition is actually not a third-party vendor. It is in-house development programs that companies try to build it themselves. But the challenge with that is that there's a cost challenge and there's a time challenge where, they don't know when it's going to be finished and there's no certainty they can do it. So what we see, what the carriers in the industry is looking for is ecosystems where stuff is pre-built, where it's already integrated. It's like Lego blocks. It's like our modules that we have in DOCOsoft anyway. We have, 20-something modules that you can pick and choose as you build out the enterprise system. So the ecosystem is another extension of that, except the Lego blocks are external third-party companies as well. And that's the joy of an ecosystem, that you can pick and choose what sanctions model, what data ingestion model, what core PaaS model, what claims module you want as well. And ultimately, the ecosystem works because it gives the client certainty that the stuff works. It's integrated as well and they can try it out. And the big challenge as well is on the data as it flows through. So imagine that demonstrating to a carrier with their own data. It comes in on the PaaS, it shows claims coming in, it runs through some AI processing. Just makes the demonstration far more powerful as well, and it gives certainty that the thing will work,
And it's also the fact that your partner's not suddenly going to go bust. That's the other thing that a carrier has to worry about, isn't it?
But the nice thing about an ecosystem, they may already have a claim system. If they already have one, well, then obviously they won't want DOCOsoft if it's not a DOCOsoft system. But then the AdGo ecosystem can work with different Lego blocks as such. So that's the joy about it,
So when we last spoke in, we had that update that you've been able to go to market sometimes almost as the ecosystem. Be able to have more pitches like that where you come sort of all pre-teamed up and pre-connected.
Yeah, and increasingly so in different specialty lines, if you like. So cyber, we've gone to market with recently. ILS, we've done some. In fact, we've just announced Multistrat, our latest client. And that was an ecosystem play, bringing in insurance that I mentioned earlier.
Yes, because Multistrat is quite a special business. It's not a standard insurance carrier as such. It's almost an environment of its own where they connect investors to different risks. So it's not like a standard balance sheet insurance company that we normally think about.
And so consequently, when they're looking for technology for their end-to-end workflow, it has some complications which you need to plug and play different components or modules, as Aidan was describing, to give them a holistic solution. And that's what we've been able to do for them.
And what are you expecting from Aidan? Great things. The new cloud-based system sounds bang on.
Absolutely, and it connects very smoothly into that underwriting workbench, allowing the data. So if you like, it's a 360-degree picture of the environment. So we're underwriting risk, we've got historic claims data coming in, we've got new claims data, and you can populate and you can visualise that information where the claims team is managing the claims on a day-to-day basis. The underwriter wants to see what the outcome of those claims are, and that can be populated in the underwriting workbench. But the real key is the specialisation of DOCOsoft. It stands out in front of more general solutions. I won't mention some of their names, but it does stand out as the market leader.
Yes, because it's what you've always been doing.
Yeah, but just as Ian said, the one point is important here is that what we can do now in the ecosystem plays is that the claims data can be populated back. So on a renewal in future, the underwriters then can look at, if they're making a decision on renewal, they have the claims data in future to make decisions on as well. It's just that you think it's common sense, but it's not common practice with a lot of the carriers. But the ecosystem play makes that easier as well with the data transfer layer in the back end.
I always remember when I was a broker and back in the dark ages, it was always, watch out, this thing's coming up for renewal. We need to make sure at least the claims are up to date. Because I'm sure that's just not...
That's an example, Mark, yeah.
It would be simply, we can't renew this. We haven't actually notified them of the 3 claims that we've been delayed, stuck somewhere between Madrid and London, as per usual. You talked about Blueprint 2. Good time to bring that up. You're building things for this new core system. Obviously, that's well-documented delays. Is that causing any difficulties, or is it the sort of thing you could have foreseen?
Look, it's 40 years of technology that they're going to put onto the cloud. Of course there's going to be delays, and the big thing we see is that it has to work, it has to work every day. So we're not surprised, to be honest, and the market is in a far better position now, because now there's going to be more emphasis on making sure that it's well tested and I think there's more emphasis now on bringing the vendors on the ground who are going to make it happen as well. There's more concentration on that going forward as well. So I think we're in a better place now, yeah.
And Ian, do you feel the same? Sometimes it's always that people underestimate how difficult some of these things are, particularly when they're such mission critical projects.
I mean, it is an incredibly complex marketplace. In fact, people quite often quote the last success of any of this was either contract certainty, which was mandated by a regulator, so we had to do it, and the other one actually was ECF.
Again, mandated.
Yeah. And so it's really difficult to get market change. There are 3, 4, 5 electronic placing initiatives which haven't really worked. This one is the core DNA of the market. This is the transactional data that goes backwards and forwards. It's a big exercise. The goal is absolutely right. I think we're making steps in the right direction, but it's a year, 2 away from reality, I think.
Yeah, Mark, the last program that I would say was successful in this market was actually claims write-back, ECF write-back back in 2015. Because right now, I think 95% of the total market use ECF write-back. And what that was ultimately introducing two-way messages into the ECF original system. And it was extremely complex what the market had to do. And why that was successful was we had a mixture of the LMA with Lee Ellison running it. We had DXE in the room. We had a couple of vendors like ourselves in the room and a couple of carriers. And we all worked together over a period of 24 months ultimately to get it across the line. And it was quite a successful program on a low budget as well. And I think that's ultimately where Blueprint 2 needs to look at, that same mindset and culture of what we did back then.
And the main thing is that we have the confidence that it's going to get there, and when it is switched on, it will work, and that it's going to get there some point reasonably soon. But if it took a bit longer, it's important enough to wait for.
Yeah, what's another year or two over 40 years? We can all wait to get it right.
The main thing is that you're all confident that it's definitely going to happen. It's not suddenly going to be one of these things.
It'll definitely happen. And it's resetting the foundations, which is why it's so important. The upside after you've got those foundations right are fantastic. Straight through processing is a reality. Client service improvements around settlement speed. You can't really make any more progress until you've got that base foundation right. From then onwards, it's digitalised marketplace, which is the panacea.
Yeah, exactly. And in future, we'll have, with Blueprint 2 Phase 2, we'll have the data set there. So ultimately, you mentioned AI, Mark. So you have, with the data set, you can run AI. Big thing with data, obviously, with AI is the quality of the data that you're looking at. So with the data set that Blueprint 2 Phase 2 will bring in, ultimately you can make better decisions, quicker decisions, and you can obviously a core base then for a whole AI machine learning platform for the future as well, which gives London an advantage over other insurance sectors.
Yes, it's time to talk about AI. At any time in the last 18 months, I think AI has gone off the charts in terms of the thing I've talked most about on the podcast. So how are you bringing it in? How are you going to be incorporating it into your products?
It's funny you say that. We've been working with AI technologies probably for the last 7-8 years. But it's just in the last 18 months when generative AI, ChatGPT, became quite a focus that suddenly in the mainstream. But we've papers published on using AI in insurance. But the big issue is getting carrier and user acceptance of the technologies itself. What we've done is we've done reserve accuracy modules using AI programs. We've done process mining where you can look at, say, thousands of messages coming in on a daily basis with, say, a couple of hundred claims handlers and using AI. Without AI, we can simulate that, where the bottlenecks are, because ultimately it's all about throughput. I think 16 days is the average at the moment in the London insurance market. But with process mining using the DOCOsoft systems, we can see where the bottlenecks are. Is it on peer reviews or manager approval? But then using AI, imagine you could say you introduce 2 more managers into the system. What would that look like for the whole process mining? Would it speed up from 16 days to 14 days as an example? Another way we're using AI is using on data ingestion, where emails are coming in and turning those into claims files automatically as well. So there's many examples of AI, but the simplest one that people would really get to at the moment is when a claims file will come in with, I don't know, say 100 documents, and each document might have a couple of 100 pages. With AI right now, what you can do is you can summarize that complete claims file in about 2 seconds. So what we see is, imagine it's a Friday evening and the claims guys, there's 5 claims in their inbox and they're all red standard, and their KPIs only leave 2 in their inbox before they go home. What 3 are they going to do? So run your generative AI mouse over each of the lines and it comes back with summarizes, in seconds what each claim's about. and then you can pick and choose which one you want to handle. There's a simple example of what can be done right now, what's in the DOCOsoft system actually using AI.
My claims guys would have loved that because they'd be able to get down the pub much quicker.
Yeah, you could, yeah. Well, probably then there'll be trackers on those guys in the future, Mark, yeah.
It reminds me, actually, we had Bill Perroni of Accord on this very podcast, and I was asking him about where do you think the best applications of AI would be. He said, well, in claims, because that's where the money is. Well, there's, of course, there's a huge amount of money is in claims.
Sort of money is going out, yeah.
Yeah, and what about things like looking at the quality of the claim or trying to calculate quantum?
Fraud is a big thing as well.
Avoid
of course,
fraud.
Yeah.
And on litigation, something might help you decide whether you should fight this claim or pay it as quick as possible.
Yeah, Ian and myself were actually over in Vegas a couple of weeks ago at ITC, and one of the big things I was amazed by customer sentiment, where they're running AI tools now over a customer when they're ringing in, giving a first notification of loss and using the sentiment analysis of the voices. If the customer is quite agitated, or the words they're using when they're describing what has happened, how that call gets escalated up to the managers as well. And that's quite powerful in future as well. But they're all for the future, I think, yeah.
And certainly at our specialty end, I suppose things are already quite painful by the time that we get to hear about them. Ian, what about, obviously you've a lot of AI, new members of the ecosystem, really interesting. What about AdGo itself?
Yeah, so AdGo, we've used AI again for a number of years, as Aidan has. So where you really understand the data, where you really understand the code, so we use AI to check our code, for example, and even develop new code in a software company. That's relatively simple stuff to do, and AI is very efficient, very fast, 30-40% improvement in both testing and development, so that's good news. For us, it's tying up and making sure we pick the partners that are experts in their field, so where they're applying AI, we know that they've invested time and effort in that particular field. So claims information, claims fraud, etc., we would have confidence that Aidan's team, being specialist in claims, will understand how to apply AI. And we've used that same logic through each of our ecosystem partners that we bring on board. So if somebody comes and says we've got generative AI models which span the whole of the insurance market, to be honest with you, we'll step back a little for that to be proven.
So, well, yeah, it's unlikely to have a unifying theory of everything. The physicists haven't even done that yet.
And insurance is much more difficult than
astrophysics.
But really specialising in areas is where we think it's right. So if you think about it, if you're a specialist, you can simplify things, and then AI can come in and do that much faster, much more efficiently, and give you new insights that you probably wouldn't have pulled out of that data as a mere mortal.
It's that specialism, it was knowing. Talk to a really good claims broker, talk to a really good claims manager. They know what they're after. And then if they can teach that to an AI, they can really save a lot of time because they know the important bits out of all these hundreds of bits of irrelevant information. Yeah,
what we hear is that, look, an underwriter or head of claims, they won't be replaced by an AI chatbot as such. But what we're hearing is that an underwriter or head of claims who's using AI will have an advantage over an underwriter of claims who's not using AI. That's what we're seeing on the ground, yeah. But a nice thing with AI is, as well, which is a kind of a light touch introduction for companies to get into, is explainable AI, where it doesn't make the tea for you, but it says what a good cup of tea might look like. And ultimately, that's why the tool has picked this decision. And you can look back then. So explainable AI is a kind of a light touch where carriers can get involved, look at it, and they still have to make the calls on it.
We're in a market where the stated aims at Lloyd's of trying to get to a $100 billion market. Of course, when you're talking about 30 to 40% productivity gains, so it sounds like it's all about, rather obviously, we're not going to be getting rid of people because we're going to need all these people we're going to double the size of the market in 5 years or whatever. But what we're really going to need is these 30, 40, 50% productivity gains all the time, because what we can't do necessarily is double the amount of people in the marketplace in 5 years, because that's never going to be possible. Everyone's going to have to become much more productive, aren't they? I mean, and if we do increase the volume of premium that we're bringing, of course, we're going to double the volume of claims at the same time. We all know you can't have one without the other. Every insurance company in the world would love to have no claims whatsoever, but that wouldn't really be a very good product.
Yeah, it doesn't satisfy the client's needs, does it? That 30 or 40% productivity gain needs to be applied, not as we have in the past, which is a cost productivity gain. It needs to be more around client service. Client service will bring more business into the London market. And more business coming into the London market may lead to more people, actually. I just think they'll be doing different jobs. There'll be higher net worth type jobs than they do traditionally. We spoke about the claims broker. They actually used to have suitcases and drag claim files around, and ECF's changed that. Now, we haven't got that extreme now, but the roles that we see as operational today may evolve to become more value-added roles.
You get quite nostalgic when you see some of those old claims files with a big kind of grid on the front of the claim sheet. Who have you been to see? First notification day, whatever, third, whatever, quantum, blah, blah, blah. All those things, yeah, you can get quite dewy-eyed when you see those.
If you talk to graduates coming into the office now, they'll look at email systems and look at those as archaic things. We had paper files, they see big email inboxes. They will evolve such that you don't see big email inboxes.
No, everything's going to be integrated. It certainly seems to be.
That's the exact come back to the value of an ecosystem then when everything is integrated. Yeah.
And it was interesting what you're saying, because no one's going to be out of a job, and it sounds like everyone's going to be graduating towards better paying, higher added value jobs. So, I mean,
as a CEO of the business, I'm not sure I want to reply to that. But no, absolutely. We'll be providing higher value, better service to our clients, and clients are typically happy to pay for a better service.
I was just looking at my list of notes in front of me. I think we've covered pretty much everything that was on my list. Is there anything you want to add before we say goodbye?
I would just like to thank you, Aidan, for coming in and becoming part of our ecosystem. And I look forward to our next conversation, Mark, where we can announce the next few.
Actually, one thing, how many companies are now in the ecosystem with you? You added about 4 or 5 just then. So
yes, I think
am I putting you on the spot?
Yeah, you are a little bit, because and I'll tell you why. Because we have such a long pipeline of them that I struggle with which ones are formally announced. So I know that we've got 3 actually going through right now. I'm looking across the road. You can't see that on the podcast. I apologise. I think we're in the 2030 sort of region.
Oh, fantastic! Well, I'll be looking forward to my next update. And Aidan, thank you so much for coming on the show. It's been really, really good to see you, because we've been sparring in the London market for at least 15 years.
We have,
you and I, Aidan. I haven't had you in front of a microphone until now, so thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you. And also thanks, Ian, and the guys in Russian and everyone in AdGo as well for the opportunity today as well to talk to you guys, and you too, Mark. Yeah.
Thanks very much.
Thank you.
See you guys. Thanks.
Well, I hope you enjoyed today's episode. If you did, don't forget to subscribe or leave a like or a review or recommendation on whatever podcast platform you used to access this programme. These really help get the word out. Before we go, just a quick reminder that advertising slots are available here and in other places in the Voice of Insurance podcasts. Podcasting is the fastest growing medium and attracts a high quality audience of key decision makers. It's also an intimate medium where you, the listener, are right in the room with me and the interview subjects. Needless to say, that means it's a great way of getting your message out directly to an audience, because you know you've got their full attention. It's also very cost effective. So get in touch with Mark at thevoiceofinsurance.com to find out how you could be speaking directly to the industry. The Voice of Insurance podcast is produced in association with AdvantageGo, enabling enterprise scale underwriting through a single pane of glass. Voice of Insurance is produced by me, Mark Gagan. Music was written by Anna Gagan and produced by Carlos Gagan. Check out more podcasts and written comment pieces at www.thevoiceofinsurance.com.